Yes, you can live off $500,000 in the bank and do nothing else for the rest of your life, but here is the catch. It is not going to look anything like what the gurus on TikTok are telling you. Usually when you hear about living off $500,000, you see one of two extremes. On one side, there is the fantasy version. This is the guy sitting on a yacht in Bali, claiming he earns $10,000 a month in dividends while sipping a coconut. On the other side, you have the fear version. These are the traditional financial advisors who tell you that if you do not have at least $3 million saved by age 65, you will be eating cat food under a bridge within 5 years. Both of these perspectives are fundamentally flawed because they focus on the wrong variable. The people who fail at this lifestyle are not usually underestimating their investment returns. They are misunderstanding the concept of time and the weight of their own choices. I'm going to show you exactly how this math works, the specific points where the plan breaks, and the one rule of capital preservation you cannot violate. Most people who try to retire on this amount destroy their entire nest egg within the first 36 months. If you want to avoid being one of them, pay very close attention. Let's start by dismantling the big lie about $500,000. You have probably seen the viral math online. People say, just use the 4% rule. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 a year. They tell you to just put it in the market, chill out, and let the index funds do the heavy lifting. That logic feels true because historically the market returns more than 4%. But in the real world, this logic fails almost immediately for three specific reasons: inflation, sequence of returns risk, and lifestyle creep. $20,000 today is not the same as $20,000 in 10 years. If the cost of your bread, rent, and health insurance goes up by 5% while your portfolio stays flat, you are effectively taking a pay cut every single year. Furthermore, if you retire and the market drops 20% in your first year, you aren't just losing value, you're eating your seed corn just to survive. This strategy is not about chasing high-yield income. It is about extreme burn rate control and capital protection. If you touch the principle the wrong way during a market downturn, the whole plan collapses before you even get started. This leads us to the only scenario where this actually works. This plan is not for someone living in New York City, London, or San Francisco. It is not for people who need a new iPhone every year or a leased BMW in the driveway to feel successful. If you are driven by status or high-cost consumption, $500,000 is nothing. It is a down payment on a house and a few years of groceries. However, this works perfectly for those who understand geographic arbitrage and low expense environments. We are talking about designing a life where your fixed costs are so low that they don't even register as a threat to your portfolio. This is for the person who values their time and their autonomy over the ability to buy things. You have to design your lifestyle around the money first, rather than trying to upgrade your life after the money hits your account. If you miss this part and try to maintain a standard middle-class lifestyle in a high-cost area, that $500,000 becomes nothing more than a loud, ticking countdown timer to bankruptcy. The math that actually matters isn't found on a complex spreadsheet, it is found in your daily habits. To make this work, your annual spend target needs to be realistic. We aren't looking for a fixed percentage withdrawal because fixed percentages don't account for reality. Instead, you need a flexible withdrawal logic. In years when the market is up, you can live a bit more comfortably. In years when the market is bleeding red, you must have the discipline to slash your spending to the absolute bone. This flexibility is what allows your capital to recover. You're not trying to maximize your returns or beat the S&P 500 every single month. Your entire goal is to avoid forced selling. The worst year to need money is the year the market is down 30%. If you are forced to sell your shares at the bottom just to pay rent, you are permanently damaging your future wealth management capabilities. Success here is defined by how little you can live on during the bad times, not how much you can spend during the good times. This is exactly where most people blow the plan. The psychological trap of having $500,000 in liquid cash is immense. In year one, you feel rich. You see the balance, you see a bit of growth, and you start treating those gains like a salary. You think, I made $30,000 in the market this month. I can afford this luxury vacation. But those gains aren't income. They are a buffer for the inevitable drought that is coming. People leak money. It isn't usually one giant purchase that kills the dream. It is the slow bleed of lifestyle inflation. It is the upgraded gym membership, the premium streaming services, and the habit of eating out because you have the time. You start spending as if the money regenerates automatically, forgetting that you have no active income to replace it. This is a defensive strategy, not an aggressive one. You are a gardener protecting a limited supply of water. Most people don't lose their money to a market crash, they leak it away $100 at a time until the principal is too small to sustain itself. To prevent that leak, you need a boring setup that prioritizes stability over excitement. A winning structure usually involves 3 distinct buckets. First, a liquidity buffer. This is 2 years of cash sitting in a boring, low-yield account. This money is not for growth, it is your insurance policy so you never have to sell your stocks during a crash. Second, the stability portion. This is composed of assets that don't fluctuate wildly, providing a steady base. Third, the growth portion, which is where your long-term wealth management happens. This simple setup wins because it requires fewer decisions. When the world is panicking, you don't have to do anything because your next 2 years of life are already funded in cash. This reduces emotional interference, which is the #1 killer of financial freedom. The goal isn't to get the highest possible return. The goal is to never be forced back into survival mode. When you stop worrying about the daily fluctuations of the market, you gain the real advantage: time, freedom, and the power to choose how you spend your day. But there is a hidden trade-off that nobody talks about when they discuss doing nothing else. The cost of total freedom is often a loss of identity and a rise in social pressure. We live in a society that defines people by what they do for a living. When you tell people you do nothing, they don't see a successful investor. They often see someone who is lost. Without the structure of a 9-to-5 job, many people drift into a state of deep boredom or anxiety. They start checking their brokerage account 10 times a day just to feel something. They re-enter the workforce not because they need the money, but because they can't handle the silence of a life without a schedule. This is why so many people self-sabotage their portfolios. They create problems just to have something to solve. You have to understand that this lifestyle is a phase, not necessarily a permanent identity. If you don't have a purpose that is bigger than your bank account, the freedom you work so hard for will eventually become a source of stress. Rewriting this video's title is a good technique. It shouldn't mean never working again. It should be about never working from desperation again. $500,000 and a low burn rate provide you maximum leverage. You can do low-paying passion projects that satisfy you. You can work part-time in a field you like without worrying about health insurance or retirement. Money lets you say no to abusive bosses and exhausting schedules. The safest strategy doesn't need to function perfectly every year. Small streams of passive income or low-pressure freelancing jobs lighten your $500,000 nest fund. Leaving it alone makes a lean retirement wealthy over time. $500,000 isn't retirement, freedom to decide. It is the capital needed to design your own time instead of being a victim. This plan's foes aren't the stock market or economy. Your set expenses, ego spending, and inflexibility are your foes. Master your psychology and keep your demands minimal to enjoy $1 million existence. Do not wait till you're 65 to start living, but be smarter than the ordinary customer. The most valuable asset you can have is a new perspective on what you can do with your money. The regulations you follow matter more than the bank balance.